Welcome to today's employer education session on contributions, earnings, service, and pension adjustments for DBprime and DBplus plan designs. This session is part of our employer education program, which is a key component to managing risk to the plan and is tied to the Employer Attestation of Compliance initiative. The objective of today's presentation is to provide you with a refresher session on the information and tools that you may use on a daily basis in order to calculate and report earnings, contributions, service, and pension adjustments. We have three presenters today: Sean McFarland from our finance department, Evelyn Andel and Deepak Patel, who are pension analysts in the employer services team. I will now pass it over to Sean.
Thank you, Sandy. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean, and like said, I work in the finance department here at the CAT Pension Plan, and I will be your contact for everything's contributions related. In the following slides, I will briefly cover the CAT RPP contribution remittance process. When I refer to CAT RPP, I'm referring to the main CAT Pension Plan. The remittance process can be broken down into two distinct parts. The first one is monthly current contribution and pregnancy parental contributions. And the second part is purchase service contribution remittance. The current contribution and pregnancy parental payroll deduction is done monthly. The appropriate form that should accompany the payment is Form 34A, which is CAT RPP and CAT RCA contribution remittance summary. RCA stands for Retirement Compensation Arrangement, which is another plan administered by us. It should be emailed to both CIBC Mellon and finance@catpensionplan.on.ca at the same time or just before payments are made for monthly contributions. Just to note that both the payment method and the remittance form must equal the same dollar amount. The contribution payments are due by the 5th Ontario business day of the following month. For example, July 2020 contributions would be due August 10th, 2020, as August 3rd is a stat holiday. If payments are not received by the 5th Ontario business day, it will be subject to a late penalty as specified in the plan text. That late penalty is currently 1.5% per month, and we prorate for partial months. This form, like all other forms, comes with a detailed instructions tab. The next slide is where you can locate the form, as well as a picture of the form. The second part of the remittance process relates to purchase service contributions. The appropriate form to use for RPP purchase service remittance is Form 14C on our website. You will also see number 20C, which is CAT RCA remittance summary, pension purchase, which is not applicable here. We ask that you SDoc, secure doc this form along with other related election forms to the investment pension accounting team at CIBC Mellon. The link to the SDoc is in the form at the bottom. In this slide, you will see a picture of the form in which to use. This slide summarizes where and how to send each remittance form. This table, along with additional contribution related information, can be found on our website within the employer manual. Next, we will talk about the transmission of funds. The recommended method to remit funds is electronic funds transfer. Please contact finance or other forms of payment if you're unable to remit by EFT. This slide summarizes CAT's EFT instructions, as noted above. Should you pay by check, CIBC Mellon, which is the CAT's custodian, their address is listed above in this slide. This information is also available on our website within the employer manual. It is located within the contribution remittance subsection of the contributions, service, and earnings section of the manual. Here you can see where the contribution remittance process information is located on our website within the employer manual. It is located in the contribution remittance subsection of the contributions, service, and earnings section of the manual. This concludes our quick summary of contribution remittance process today. In this slide, you can find the contact information for the corporate finance team here at CAT Pension Plan. If there are any questions, we can now ask them at this time, but if not, you can always feel free to email us at cat@finance.on.ca. Thank you for your time.
We will now review the contributory earnings for the DBprime plan design. This will be a high-level review of contributory earnings under DBprime for full-time members. As previously mentioned, we will be discussing earnings for DBplus for OTRFT members a little later in the presentation. We will also show you where to find more information on our website. Contributory or pensionable earnings are earnings that are used to calculate contributions and must include regular, predictable, and reoccurring earnings. One-off payments or payments that are similar to overtime would not be included. These types of earnings would be considered non-pensionable earnings and are not used in calculating contributions. Other examples of non-pensionable earnings are vacation pay while active, honorariums, and payments in lieu of benefits. A few examples of pensionable earnings for full-time members include lump sum, re-earnable merit pay, pay equity settlements, shift premiums, and the coordinator allowance. Contributory or pensionable earnings are defined in section 2.11 of the plan text, which contains detailed information. The CAT website has various helpful tools, such as the plan text and materials in the employer manual, which includes a contributory earnings summary chart and decision trees to help you determine whether a particular type of earnings should be pensionable. These can be accessed by hyperlinks embedded in this slide in the PDF of today's webinar that you can download from the website, or you can browse through the online employer manual. We will now review the contribution calculation. There are no changes from 2020 to 2021 other than a new YMPE and RCA earnings threshold. The CRA has not released the 2021 YMPE, so we will advise of the YMPE and RCA earnings threshold once this amount has been confirmed. We will review the calculation contribution spreadsheet that is used for calculating contributions for all in-year events, such as leave of absence, pregnancy and parental leaves, change of employment, and etc. There are no changes from 2020 to 2021 other than a new YMPE and RCA earnings threshold. The contribution spreadsheets will be updated to add 2021 to the year drop-down menu and the updated YMPE and RCA threshold once it has been confirmed. For termination and retirement events, we encourage you to use the SMART form. If you use a SMART form, you will not have to worry about calculating the contributions separately. Please ensure you use the retirement application for those who are retirement eligible. The contribution calculation spreadsheets are available on the CAT website. They can be located either on the Employer tab under Calculators or in the Employer manual. Our website has spreadsheets to assist with service calculations, along with documents containing detailed instructions and examples. There are two versions of the spreadsheet for full-time members, one for biweekly pay periods and one for semi-monthly and monthly pay periods. These can be found in the Employer manual under Calculators and Spreadsheets. Important things to know. Only the biweekly sheet can be used for year-to-date contribution calculations. If you are using the monthly or semi-monthly calculation sheet, you must use the Multiple Calculations tab in the spreadsheet to calculate total contributions up to the event date. You can show or hide the contributions calculation details by clicking on the Show Hide Details button on the top right of sheet. As mentioned, there are no changes to the contribution calculation for 2021 other than the new YMPE and RCA threshold. This slide reviews the calculation steps followed by the full-time contribution calculation spreadsheets that most of you have programmed in your payroll system. These spreadsheets would also be used for any in-year events such as leaves, terminations, retirements, etc. The contribution calculation is divided into 7 steps in the spreadsheet. The first step is to calculate the pay period percentage, then bring the YMPE and RCA thresholds down to the pay period. Step 3 is to split the regular earnings up to and above the YMPE and above the RCA limit. Step 4 calculates the contributions on regular earnings. Step 5 splits the lump sum in the pay period, and if applicable, into portions up to and above the YMPE and above the RCA limit. Step 6 calculates the contributions on the lump sum payment, and Step 7 provides the total contribution amount, basic and RCA. Here's an example of a biweekly contribution spreadsheet for a member who has an in-year event and you want to calculate the total year-to-date contributions. First, you would need to choose the amount of biweekly pay periods in the year, 26 or 27, and the employee group. In this section, you would enter the total amount of workdays up to the event date and the earnings and any lump sum payments. You can hide the details by clicking on the Show Hide Details, and it will only show you the RPP, RCA, and total contributions. Similar to the last example, if you want to calculate contributions for the current pay period only, you would choose the pay periods for the year, 26 or 27, and choose the applicable employee group. Then in the yellow section, choose the actual workdays in the pay period, 10, and enter the pensionable earnings and any lump sum amounts. And if you hide the details, it will show you the final total of the RPP and RCA contribution for the pay period as shown on the slide. Here's an example of the monthly and semi-monthly calculation spreadsheet. This example shows a semi-monthly paid member. Again, the single calculation for a semi-monthly or monthly member can only be used to calculate contributions for a specific pay period. Year-to-date calculations will need to be done by using the Multiple Calculations tab in the spreadsheet. First, you would need to choose semi-monthly from the pay period frequency, and then choose the amount of regular workdays in that pay period. You would choose 9, 10, 11, or 12 days. Next, you would enter the actual amount of workdays in the payroll period, pensionable earnings, and any lump sum payments in the pay period. And if you hide the details, you will see the total RPP and RCA contributions for the pay period and the total of these contributions. Here's an example of the monthly payroll period calculation. Choose pay period frequency of monthly, and then choose the regular amount of workdays for that period, either 20, 21, 22, or 23. Then enter the actual amount of workdays, and below that, enter the amount of pensionable earnings and any lump sum amounts. The calculation will provide the RPP and RCA contributions for the pay period and the total amount. Are there any questions? Now we will take a look at pensionable service. In 2021, pensionable service calculations will be based on a 261 workday year, compared to 262 days for this year, 2020. Our website has spreadsheets to assist with service calculations along with documents containing detailed instructions and examples. The spreadsheet posted have a drop-down to indicate the calculation year. For full-time members, the pensionable service calculation is essentially full service minus any carve-outs due to leaves, which can be full days or partial days. The full-time pensionable service spreadsheet on the website has room for up to 15 leaves of 1 or more full days and up to 15 partial day leaves. Full service is 1 year, or for members who join or terminate during the year, the number of workdays they are, a member of the plan divided by the workdays in the calendar year. For example, 262 for 2020. The denominator for service calculations is the workdays in the year for administration and faculty members, and workdays in the year multiplied by hours per day for support staff, where the hours per day may vary. This is what the pensionable service worksheet looks like. To calculate the pensionable service, you would need to enter the year at the top and the enrollment date or the date the member became full-time and the last day worked as full-time in the year. On the right, you can also put any leave periods in the year. There is also a section to input any partial day leaves. At the bottom, you will see the maximum amount of service less any leaves input, and the sheet provides the total pensionable service for the year. A pension adjustment, or PA, is an amount that reduces the RRSP deduction limit, or room, for members in a company-sponsored registered pension plan, like the CAT pension plan, and reported annually on the member's T4. As previously mentioned, CRA will be releasing the 2021 figures soon, and the PA calculators will be updated and available on the CAT website shortly afterwards. The pension adjustment calculation remains the same as last year. Employers will need to report PAs for DBprime and DBplus separately. This would apply for members who change employment type between full-time and OT or FT within the same calendar year. You can locate our PA calculators in the employer manual as shown on this slide. The PA calculator tool can provide a single PA calculation. All you need to input is the PA year and the actual pensionable earnings and pensionable service for the year, and the tool will calculate the PA. The batch calculator can calculate multiple PAs and is available for employers to use. The tool is pretty easy to use. You will need to choose the PA year at the top and then enter the member's name, ID, and actual pensionable earnings and pensionable service for the year, and the tool will calculate the PA amounts. If you have any questions about the PA tools or need further assistance, please contact your employer PA. Are there any questions?
Now we will go over earnings, contributions, and pension adjustments under DBplus. DBplus earnings would include any earnings reported on the member's T4. These would include regular salary and wages, including overtime, retroactive payments, and vacation pay that is paid in lieu or included in the hourly rate. Also, any paid leaves of absence for short-term disability, paid sick time, paid maternity, or paternity leaves. You can find a list of eligible earnings under the Contributions, Service, and Earnings section in the Employer Manual. We have a document outlining what earnings should be included as pensionable and what earnings should be excluded. These can be found in Schedule 3. For example, under DBprime, overtime is not considered pensionable since it is not recurring. However, it is considered pensionable under DBplus. Taxable benefits are not pensionable under DBplus. Here is where you can locate the Schedule 3 of the contributory earnings for DBplus. Please refer to the Schedule 3 that is effective January 1, 2019. Contributions will be based on total T4 earnings, excluding taxable benefits, perks, and allowances. Similar to DBprime, there will be caps on contributions. the DBplus maximum will be based on CRA's money purchase limits. The rate for 2021 has not yet been released. We will advise of the rate when it is available. In 2020, the money purchase maximum is $27,830. This means a maximum contribution limit of $13,915 for member contributions and $13,915 for employer contributions. Ensure these limits are put in place each year to avoid crediting the member back at the end of the year. Please note the following regarding the contribution maximums for DBplus members. The combined total of member and employer DBplus contributions cannot exceed the year's money purchase limit, $27,830 in 2020. Once total contributions for a member have reached the annual limit, no further contributions should be made for the rest of the year. This is similar to the method used for Canada Pension Plan contributions. This aligns with the plan text, any applicable participation agreements, or memorandums of agreement. The only exception is when new employers join the plan and had a registered pension plan in place before joining CAT. During this transition year, the annual limit will be prorated for the portion of the year in the CAT plan. After that year, the full annual money purchase limit is applicable. Here we have the contribution rate for DBplus. For 2020, there are no changes. The contribution calculation formula for DBplus is simple. T4 earnings times 9% and matching employer contributions at the same rate of 9% up to the CRA maximum. It is important to ensure members are correctly set up under the correct plan design to account for the different contribution rates. We will now discuss PAs under DBplus. The PA calculation is based on member and employer contributions multiplied by the pension factor of 8.5% multiplied by 9 minus the offset of $300. The $300 offset is being used for this plan design because of occurrences of members working concurrently. Let's go through an example. If a member contributed $4,680 during 2020, total contributions are $9,360. If you then multiply by 8.5%, this equals a pension benefit of $795.60. Multiply that by 9 equals $7,160, subtract $300 offset, would give you a PA of $6,860. To assist employers, we have a DBplus batch PA calculator available. This is located in the employer manual in the calculators and spreadsheets section. The tool is very easy to use. Here is a sample of the DBplus batch pension adjustment calculator spreadsheet. At the top of the page, enter the PA year. Then enter the member's name, ID, and actual pensionable earnings for the year. The tool will then calculate the amount, the PA amount.
This concludes our presentation for today. Please provide your employer PA with a list of who attended today's session so that we may track this information on your behalf. This information will be provided back to you quarterly and again at the end of the year as part of the attestation process. Thanks again for attending today's session. You will be receiving an email with a link to a brief survey that we ask you to complete. Your responses will help us in making these sessions more valuable to you.